React to the craziest prison escape ever. I throw my headphones in right now because my speaker's kind of loud. I don't want no echo. I don't want no, Gonna get this bitch rocking though. Let's go.
A guard walks down the hallway of Mexico's most secure prison. He's been hearing drilling noises for days now. It's loud. Too loud. Almost deafening. He stops in front of cell 20, unlocks the door, and pushes it open, and freezes. The bed is empty. The GPS bracelet still there, but El Chapo is gone. No one saw anything. The most wanted man in the world has just vanished through one of the most spectacular prison escapes in world history.
On another developing story, the escape of Mexican drug lord.
Crazy. I remember seeing this shit on the news. Like, damn, El Chapo had escaped. I remember they say he's at one getting too far though.
From a maximum security prison.
Through a 1-mile tunnel that ran right underneath his cell.
This took over a year to plan, $7 million, involved world-class engineers, architects, fake construction sites, and one of the most precise underground tunnels ever built.
He went to take a shower, and he escaped through a small opening that went into the tunnel.
This is the untold story of how Joaquin El Chapo Guzman escaped the most secure prison in Mexico and made the entire world watch. Boots pound through the hallway. Shouts ripple
I ain't
from
gonna lie though,
outside.
Chad. Even him being being what he is, cartel and all that good shit. I know he gotta feel like the man though, like motherfucker probably in that bitch like, man, it's impossible to break out this bitch. You like, nigga, I make the impossible possible, nigga. Nigga, watch this. And fuck around and did it. I know nigga was like,
El Chapo kneels in the center of the room, hands cuffed behind his back. His face is calm, almost indifferent. Around him, a dozen special agents keep their rifles locked on him, laser sights dancing over his chest. One soldier steps forward, radio in hand. Target neutralized. We have El Chapo. After a 13-year manhunt, the Mexican Navy finally got him. But who is El Chapo, and why did it take the entire Navy to bring him down? As the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, Joaquin Guzman, also known as El Chapo, Spanish for Shorty, built a global drug empire, moving massive shipments of cocaine, heroin, meth, and marijuana across borders, or rather, under borders. His network stretched from Mexico to the US and beyond, flooding entire countries with narcotics. And with every shipment, his fortune grew into the billions. However, drugs weren't the only thing that he controlled. He ruled with terror. His cartel wars left thousands dead, politicians assassinated, and entire towns wiped out. Bodies were dumped on roadsides, dissolved in acid, or hung from bridges as warnings. Yet for years, El Chapo was untouchable. Unlike most drug lords, he didn't rely on small-time smugglers. He engineered an operation unlike any other, hiring architects and engineers to build his super tunnels outfitted with ventilation, electricity, and railways.
damn.
The cartel used submarines, cargo ships, private jets, and even disguised cocaine inside fake produce. In short, Sinaloa wasn't just a cartel. It was a multi-billion-dollar criminal empire, run with the precision of a Fortune 500 company and the brutality of a war machine. And El Chapo was at the top of it all. And with that power came a title no one had held since Osama bin Laden, the most wanted man in the world. But no empire lasts forever. After months of tracking the cartel's communications, the US traced a cell phone belonging to his personal bodyguard, someone known as El Condor. The signal led them to Mazatlan, a coastal city in Mexico. On February 12, 2014, the Mexican Navy Special Forces finally got Joaquin Guzman. But this time, Mexico isn't taking any chances. Because you see, in 2001, El Chapo had already escaped from prison once before, hiding inside of a laundry cart after bribing the guards. It took authorities 13 years to find him again. They weren't gonna let that happen twice. This time they were sending him away to the most secure facility in the country, a prison designed to ensure that whoever goes in stays in. El Altiplano Federal Maximum Security Prison.
So that's the Mexican Alcatraz, damn near is what it sounds like.
This is where El Chapo, the most wanted man in the world and one of the richest people on the planet, is sentenced to spend the rest of his life, and where 16 months from now, he'll be gone. El Chapo sits in a 60-square-foot cell, barely enough space to do anything. A single camera in the back corner watches him around the clock. His bed is in one corner, a sink at the foot of it, and a shower at the far end. Between the sink and the shower, just a few feet from the metal bed frame, stands a chest-high concrete wall. It's there as a courtesy, a small barrier to offer inmates some privacy. To El Chapo, however, it's freedom. The cell is inside Altiplano, Mexico's version of Alcatraz. To get to El Chapo's cell, you need to pass through over 20 locked steel doors, each one guarded, each one requiring ID. No one, absolutely no one, gets in or out without clearance. You had to stop at multiple security checkpoints, hold your ID up to cameras, and slowly walk past each guard, and then wait for the next set of doors to unlock. The prison is full of narrow hallways, staircases, and dead ends, a design meant to slow down even the most coordinated escape attempts. At the very end of the labyrinth was the Special Prison Section, a heavily fortified wing where only the highest risk inmates were kept, like El Chapo. And beyond that, a fortress. The walls are over a meter thick, enough to withstand a full-scale military assault, and in case anybody tried to storm the prison, armored personnel carriers were stationed nearby, ready to crush any rescue attempt before it even began. On land, the perimeter is constantly patrolled. Snipers watch from guard towers 24/7. If anyone tries to escape, they won't make it very far. On air, the airspace is completely restricted and cell phone signals are blocked within a 6-mile radius. In short, El Altiplano isn't just a prison, it's the most secure building in Mexico. There's no way out by land, there's no way out by air, but underground, that is a different story, and El Chapo has a plan for it. But unlike El Chapo, most of us don't need to dig a tunnel to have our privacy breached. These days, all it takes
All it takes is this snipe! Sniper death.
El Chapo has been here before. Not in this prison per se, but in this position, locked up, under tight security. Yet he still believes that no prison can truly hold him. He is a billionaire after all, guarded by men who earn less than $600 a month. In any other prison, that kind of money would just buy loyalty, or even an open door, just like it did back in 2001. But here, it won't work. The Altiplano guards have been handpicked and placed under constant supervision. However, it's not just about surviving here, there's a bigger threat getting closer every single day. The US is putting immense pressure on Mexico to extradite him. If they succeed, it's game over for El Chapo. You're not running a cartel from a US supermax prison. The clock's ticking, and if he wants to stay in control, he has to escape. And he's got a plan. But first, he needs a way to get the message to his crew on the outside without raising suspicion. That's where his devoted wife, Emma Coronel, comes in.
This f***ing place ain't like the others. The walls, the guards, the pinche cameras. It's tight. Too damn tight.
We'll figure it out. There's always a way, mi amor.
There is, but it ain't gonna be easy.
Tell me.
We dig.
Dig? ¿Estás loco? There's no place to hide a tunnel. They're watching everything.
There is a spot. The corner of the cell next to the shower. Behind the little wall. It's the only blind spot that pinche camera don't see.
And you really think we can hit that exact spot from the outside?
We don't got a choice, cabrona. It's the only way.
So, how do we start?
Talk to el licenciado. Tell him it's time.
This is Damaso Lopez Nunez, also known as El Licenciado. He is a very special player in this story. Before working for El Chapo, Nunez served as the Deputy Director of Security at Puente Grande, the same prison El Chapo escaped from in 2001. After the infamous breakout, Nunez got blamed for everything and was essentially fired. With nowhere else to turn, he reached out to El Chapo, knowing very well that working for him would make him very rich. After all, he had been on the receiving end of bribes from El Chapo while still working in Puente Grande. Over the course of 13 years, Nunez climbed the ranks in the cartel, gaining El Chapo's trust until he became his chief of staff, and also his best friend. Now he's bringing the most crucial element to the escape, the blueprints of Altiplano prison. No one knows exactly how he got his hands on them, but chances are he's got corruption to thank for it.
Okay, let's say everything went smoothly. Where do we dig the tunnel from?
Gather a search team and find the perfect location.
Altiplano stood alone in a vast stretch of farmland, basically in the middle of nowhere. There was almost nothing around it, just open land and a few scattered houses in the distance. Any unusual activity near the prison would stand out immediately. They had to be clever about it. Nunez sent a search team disguised as a real estate group to find where to dig the tunnel from. After days of searching, they found the perfect spot, a small piece of land in a place called Santa Juanita, just over a mile from the prison, close enough to reach the prison, but not so close as to raise suspicion. The purchase was made under a fake name, obviously, but then came the cover, a fake construction project, a simple house being built on the land. Beneath it, though, a mile-long tunnel will come into existence.
Listen, we can't mess this up. It's gotta be perfect. Find me the best diggers in the cartel, train them even more, and give them the best tools money can buy.
As ordered, Nunez sent the cartel's best diggers halfway across the world to Germany. There, they trained for weeks under criminal engineers who specialized in underground construction, learning how to dig without detection, how to keep such a tunnel from collapsing, and which tools would get the job done. But training wasn't enough. His cartel also secured one of the most advanced tunnel mapping devices in the world, the Leica Total Station, a laser-guided system that fires a beam to a prison, measures the reflection with near-perfect accuracy. With this, they could carve a tunnel with a small margin of error, less than half an inch. The knowledge was in place, the tools are ready, the location is secured. Now, it's time to get digging. Altiplano prison isn't like Puente Grande, where bribery brought him comfort. Here, El Chapo is locked in his cell for 23 hours a day, denied access to sports or any other activities. A GPS device is strapped to his ankle 24/7, tracking his every move. He glances at the corner of the cell, the exact spot where he plans to slip away from this concrete box. Doubt is creeping in, and with it, paranoia as well. Because here's the thing, there's one more major risk, and it might just be the one that blows the entire escape plan. The prison operates under strict protocols to keep high-risk inmates like El Chapo in check. One of those protocols is to routinely move prisoners from cell to crush any plans of escape. The problem is, in the entire year El Chapo has been there, he hasn't been moved once. It was only a matter of time before they changed that. Time is ticking. 1 mile away, the crew, under the supervision of Guzman's 4 sons, Joaquin Jr., Alfredo, Ivan, and Ovidio, are working as fast as they could. Using the tunnel mapping device and the prison blueprints, they've pinpointed the exact corridor leading to El Chapo's cell, so a team of 12 begins digging. The tunnel is simple but demanding. It must be 2.5 feet wide and 5.5 feet tall, big enough for El Chapo to walk through without bending, which would slow him down and risk the entire operation. The crew only uses jackhammers and hand picks to dig. Heavy machinery would be faster, but it's much too loud. They're digging just 33 feet underground, dangerously close to the surface. However, this will take weeks, maybe even months, something El Chapo really can't afford. He might be moved to another cell at any moment. As the crew digs deeper, oxygen becomes scarce, so they have to set up a complete ventilation system with PVC pipe to keep the air flowing. Next, they install rail tracks and rig a small motorcycle to move the dirt out. You see, given the scale of this tunnel that they're digging, dirt easily piles up. On average, each worker cleared about 120 cubic feet of dirt per day. With a 12-man crew working in shifts, they're moving a total of 1,440 cubic feet of dirt daily. That's a serious problem. A regular house isn't going to generate this level of excavation. The dirt needs to be dealt with. So a careful strategy is put into place. 2 of the workers are tasked with mixing the dirt dug from the tunnel with the dirt already above ground. This helps blend it in with the surrounding soil, making it harder for anyone to realize what's really going on. To work through the night, they need light, but not just any light. In just 2 days, they've set up over 300 specialized bulbs, with another 700 ready to go as the tunnel gets longer. These aren't your usual house bulbs. They've been carefully chosen for their dim, soft glow and ease of installation. And of course, lights need power, and that power comes from a generator hidden above ground, inside the fake house, camouflaged as a barbecue pit. Everything about this is meticulously planned. The building appears ordinary, no sign of anything unusual. So ordinary, in fact, when police drive by, which they do pretty often, they suspect nothing. The plan is working. So far, so good. And it will remain so for the next 17 months.
Talk to me. What's going on?
We've got a problem.
What is it?
The Americans, they're pushing harder to get you extradited.
Hijos de puta. How close are they?
Closer than ever. They might actually pull it off this month.
If those cabrones get me out of Mexico, it's over. There is no cartel from a fucking US Supermax.
I know. That's why you need to hear the rest.
Tell me.
The tunnel, it's here, right under the prison.
You sure?
Yes, they're right under your feet, right now. But they're stuck.
¿Cómo que stuck?
After 13 months of digging, the tunnel has finally broken through the prison's walls. However, something unexpected happens. Over the span of decades, Guzman was charged in 7 separate U.S. indictments, accused of money laundering, drug trafficking, kidnapping, and murder in cities like Chicago, Miami, New York, San Diego, all around Texas, and more. As far as the U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch is concerned, El Chapo needs to be in U.S. soil to face the full might of the justice system. Mexico, on the other hand, is pushing back really hard. They are unbelievably proud of having El Chapo in custody. After all, he is the most wanted man in the world. News of his arrest has dominated headlines, flooding TV screens and newspapers with images of the kingpin in handcuffs.
Esta noche, el capo del cártel de Sinaloa, Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán,
Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán fue capturado esta madrugada en un...
Joaquín Guzmán Loera, alias El Chapo, pasó su segunda noche en el penal del Altiplano en el estado de México.
So in essence, refusing to hand him over wasn't just a legal decision, it was a statement of sovereignty. A message that they could handle their own stuff, even if it meant guarding the most wanted man in the world. Back in January, when asked about El Chapo's extradition, Mexico's Attorney General at the time, Jesus Murillo Caram, made it clear, I can't approve the extradition. El Chapo must stay here to complete his sentence, and then I will extradite him. So 300 or 400 years later, it might take a while. The Americans are not buying it. The DEA knew that no prison in Mexico could truly hold him, not when he had billions at his disposal and corruption rotting the system from the inside. They feared that it was only a matter of time before he slipped away again. And El Chapo is about to prove them right. Underground, even as the crew finally breach the prison walls, they're stuck. They know the corridors, and that's it. They don't know the exact spot where the tunnel should pop up. Navigating the maze of corridors to pinpoint the shower corner, the one spot the security camera couldn't see, is nearly impossible. The Leica Total Stations device is accurate, but not that accurate. The hole needs to be no more than 2 square feet, barely enough to fit El Chapo. To put it into perspective, imagine digging a tunnel the length of 18 football fields and trying to pop up through a hole barely big enough to fit a suitcase. It is an impossible engineering task. If they miss by just 1 inch, they'll surface 96 feet away from the target. They cannot miss. So they need a breakthrough. And surprisingly, Emma Coronel just brought one.
A damn watch? That's your big plan?
Yes, this watch has a GPS. You wear it on your cell and they get the exact location.
You're sure?
It's the only way. It'll work.
All right.
Emma handed El Chapo a Casio watch that has GPS in it, which he would then place in the shower corner. From there, the crew would track his position from the outside. As simple as that. Now you might be wondering, how could a maximum security prison allow a gift like this? Well, during his 1.5 years at Altiplano, El Chapo earned a reputation. He was polite, he kept to himself, and even helped the other inmates. In fact, one officer went as far as calling him a role model. And why wouldn't he be? To pull off an escape like this, he had to stay under the radar, avoid conflicts, and play the long game, just like he did back in 2001 at Puente Grande. So thanks to his calculated behavior, the officers allowed him to keep the watch, accepting it as a gift from his devoted wife. Little did they know that watch was one final piece of his grand plan. He wore the watch and he went back to his cell. Now all he has to do is place it in the shower corner and let the GPS do its job. Somewhere underground, the GPS has locked in. The crew now knows exactly where to dig. The final stage of El Chapo's daring escape is about to begin.
With a damn watch with a GPS. That's crazy.
Mexican Attorney General Aurelio Gomez Gonzalez has revealed something important. On June 25th, about 3 weeks ago, the U.S. issued a formal request to extradite El Chapo. This is a big deal. It isn't just about talk anymore, it's official. And when the US makes it formal, Mexico can't just ignore it without consequences. They would need strong reasons to reject or delay it, and they would have to justify that choice both legally and politically. Since Mexico has an extradition treaty with the US, they're expected to cooperate. And now that the Attorney General has made it public, it's likely a signal that Mexico is preparing to approve the extradition. El Chapo will be in the US sooner than expected. In Altiplano, the sound of digging grows louder, pounding like a heavy drumbeat. Jackhammers strike and metal carts clatter along the rails, hauling dirt away. The noise gets so intense that inmates near El Chapo's cell start banging on the doors, screaming for it to stop. But no one knows where it's coming from, not the prisoners, not the guards, and it's driving them mad. A prison guard walks down the hallway, trying to figure out what's causing the noise. The drilling is deafening now. It had been going on for days, and now it's louder than ever. He heads straight for El Chapo's cell. The closer he gets, the louder the sound becomes. And then suddenly, silence.
So y'all
the
didn't
noise
hear
just
none of that.
stops. It's
So you telling me y'all let these folks drill all the way to El Chapo's cell with no suspicion of nothing going on? Bro, that's crazy.
too quiet now. He reaches the cell, unlocks the door, and pushes it open. His heart stops. The cell is empty. El Chapo is gone. Within seconds, the alarm bells begin blaring loudly. Red emergency lights start flashing. The guard dropped the radio and rushed down the hallway, his boots pounding against the concrete floor. He sprinted to the control room where the warden was already on the phone, barking orders. Elsewhere in the prison, guards were springing into action. They slammed doors shut, locked the gates, and checked the perimeter to make sure nothing was overlooked. Everyone was on high alert. This wasn't just any escape, it was El Chapo. Slipping away is what he does. 1 mile from the prison, Guzman surfaced from the tunnel, quickly changed out of his prison uniform, slipped into clean clothes, and climbed into a waiting truck. From there, he was quietly driven out of the fake construction site and loaded onto an 18-wheeler semi-truck stationed nearby. The truck took off from Toluca, driving non-stop for 2 hours until it reached the smaller town of San Juan. At a remote airstrip, 2 private planes were already waiting. One served as a decoy, the other will actually take him to freedom. Soon after, the real plane took off, piloted by one of El Chapo's most trusted men. Guzman was airborne. Back in Toluca, home to the Altiplano prison, Toluca International Airport was shut down and roadblocks were thrown up across key routes. This was a full-blown disaster and a big humiliation for Mexico. Immediately, a nationwide manhunt is initiated, codename Operation Black Swan. At the time of the escape, Mexico's President Enrique Peña Nieto was on a state visit to France when the news reached him. Embarrassed on the world stage and under immense pressure, he immediately dispatched his interior minister to take control of the manhunt and oversee the recapture operation personally. But it's too late. The most powerful drug lord in modern history has vanished, and with every passing hour, he is humiliating the Mexican government. Panic is spreading across Mexico and across Washington. Within hours, US offered unconditional support. Drones, surveillance tech, intel teams, whatever it takes to bring him down. But in a surprising move, Mexico said no. For months, there's nothing but silence. No trail, no chatter, not even a whisper. Until one day, a mistake happens. Locals report seeing heavily armed men near a house in the mountains. This was El Chapo's final destination after the escape. It is known only to a few within his inner circle. It was one of his most protected hideouts. The house is nicknamed the Sky. One of the locals called the authorities, which got their attention. This amount of guards won't be necessary for anything except to guard a drug lord. The government starts listening, watching, and waiting. Eventually, they pick up a voice on the radio. A nickname comes through, Tia, which means ant. That confirms it. El Chapo is about to visit the house. After 6 months of silence, Operation Black Swan begins. Just before sunrise, Marines surround the hideout. A massive shootout happens, something straight out of an action movie. Eventually, 5 of El Chapo's cartel are killed, but once again, he gets away through a tunnel under the bathtub. El Chapo and his top lieutenant crawl through it, eventually coming out nearly a mile away. They are covered in dirt and barely able to breathe. They immediately hijack a car and take off. The driver reports what happened. Police started tracking the car. A few miles outside of the city, they stop it. Even then, he tries to avoid capture. He offers bribes, money, property, even jobs in the cartel, but that won't work. The world's eyes are on this. He then gets violent and starts threatening the police officers, but they don't give in. They refuse the bribes and stand their ground. Then they received a tip that 40 cartel assassins are coming their way to liberate El Chapo. There's no time to move him far, so they take him to a small motel nearby. They handcuff him to a radiator and block the doors. Soon, headlights appear outside. El Chapo smiles, thinking it's his men. But it's not. It's the Marines, and they're here to get him. This time, for good. In the immediate aftermath of El Chapo's escape, Mexican authorities launched a wide-ranging investigation into how such a high-profile prisoner managed to flee from the country's most secure facility. One of the most shocking details to emerge was that it took 40 minutes for the prison guards to react. For nearly an hour, no one noticed he was missing. No alarms were triggered, no emergency protocol was followed. And even more concerning was the sound of digging that had been heard for several nights leading up to the escape. Inmates in nearby cells had complained, banging on their doors, and yelling about the noise. Still, prison staff did nothing. The signs were there. No one moved. After the escape, 34 prison staff members were detained for questioning. 12 were released, while 22 were held in formal custody as the investigation continued. In the months that followed, the fallout grew. 7 prison officers were formally charged. 13 other individuals were arrested, including the former head of Mexico's federal prisons and former directors of Altiplano. The case exposed deep cracks in Mexico's prison system and a long trail of potential corruption. Despite the embarrassment, El Chapo was sent back to Altiplano prison after his rearrest, but he wouldn't stay there long. According to testimony from Damaso Lopez Nunez, the former deputy director of Puente Grande prison and one of El Chapo's most trusted men, the cartel was planning a second escape. Nunez said El Chapo's family reached out to him again and they told him, let's do it again. He even received a $100,000 down payment to buy land for another tunnel. The second escape plan was already taking shape. But before any digging began, Mexico approved the U.S. extradition request. On January 19, 2017, after months of legal battles and mounting pressure, El Chapo was extradited to the United States. His final destination? ADX Florence in Colorado, the most secure prison in the country. There are no tunnels, no bribes, no escape. And it wasn't just El Chapo who faced the consequences. His wife, Emma Coronel, was arrested in the U.S. at Dulles International Airport on February 22, 2021. The FBI accused her of helping him escape from Altiplano back in 2015 and helping coordinate another escape after his recapture. She was also accused of smuggling messages from him to cartel associates. A handwritten letter, 2 cooperating witnesses, and that's all it took. Her lawyers denied that she had surrendered voluntarily. The DOJ and the FBI said nothing. but sources claim that she was seeking a deal. In jail, she spent 22 hours a day in a small cell with nothing to do but to read. And then there's Nunez, El Licenciado, arrested in May 2017 in Mexico City before he could fully consolidate power within the Sinaloa cartel. He was extradited to the US on July 6, 2018. Even El Chapo's sons remain in the story. According to Mexican security officials, 2 of his sons, one in a US prison, the other still in Mexico, coordinated together in 2023 before one boarded a flight to El Paso, Texas. The empire may be fractured, but the network lives on. El Chapo now serves a life sentence in ADX Florence. No visits, no outside contact, no tunnels, no escape. But if there's one thing that history has taught us, it's that no prison is ever truly escape-proof. And somewhere inside that concrete box, maybe, just maybe, he's already planning the next one.
Hold on, go back. Damn. The court ordered El Chapo to pay $12.6 billion in forfeiture. Witness claimed El Chapo bribed the Mexican president with $100 million.
Bruh.
The initial escape was supposed to happen on July 4th, a date El Chapo personally selected to humiliate the U.S. El Chapo reportedly placed $100 million bounty on Donald Trump, dead or alive.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
It's crazy.